to call this thing?
I got it. Okay. Incredible, new, fantastic, astonishing, mighty, original, uncanny, sensational podcast.
I'm just going to put down infamous. Hello and welcome to episode 2 of Infamous, the audio podcast. My name is Brandon, or Mutilus on the forums.
And I'm Parker. I go by Tweak on forums.
All the forums, all the time.
Every single forum.
Yep. Specifically the forums. That's where I'm at.
the one.
Yeah. So today it's just going to be me and Parker. We don't have a third person today. For those of you that listened to episode 1 and like the 3-person dynamic, apparently COVID's a bad time. So yeah. we have a limited cast today because everyone was busy dying, unfortunately. All right, so they'll be fine. It's
not
a
us.
Pretty good chance that they'll be fine.
Glass half full.
So, yeah. All right. So today we're going to finish up building the list that we made last week, and then we're going to talk about some new stuff. Particularly, we have a little bit of news, and we're going to have a comic corner and a couple other things. So, starting us off today, I believe we have some news, Parker.
News, yeah.
News.
Okay.
So, our news as of today is going to be that the Punisher and Taskmaster cards were spoiled.
Mm-hmm. And one of the Kingpin's cards.
If you are unable to access these cards, they usually get spoiled on Facebook first by Atomic Mass Games or people in Europe that have distributors that don't believe in following release dates. Those are generally the two ways these get spoiled. If you don't like Facebook, totally understand that. You can also go to MCP Database, and they upload the cards somehow faster than Facebook usually gets them. I don't understand how, but yeah. Those are both good sources for full images on the cards.
Yeah.
So skimming over these, I believe Punisher is pretty close to what we were expecting based on the panel to play.
A lot of people were surprised that he's 3 points for all the stuff he does, which is pretty exceptional. He
is kind of beefy for 3 points, but I mean his defensive stats aren't crazy, which I think is usually the line that. Right. Excuse me, the line that they draw is if they're easy to kill, usually they're 3 points. I think.
Mm-hmm. He does have 6 health on the front side and only 5 on the back. So
it's true. So 11 hit points with 3s across the board, I think, is pretty consistent with most 3-point characters. It is a little on the high side, maybe, but I think combined with his potential damage output is why it's surprising.
One of the things about him I think is interesting is when you look at him, he has no acceleration abilities. He has all these cool powers, cost 2 and they cost 3. His aim shot costs 3, but he's going to have to wait or take damage, and I don't think he's a frontline fighter.
He doesn't ramp up the power a lot, is what you're saying. I totally get that.
Like some characters, like some long range, like all the other long range characters, like some people immediately compared him to Hawkeye, and man, they were a little disappointed that Hawkeye seems lackluster compared to him. Well, then you look at the power numbers that all this cool stuff costs, and you're like, well, Hawkeye does everything for free. He just does everything, and he only needs one power to run most of his stuff, but.
I will say with hip fire, while it is a fairly short range attack, it does generate 2 power every time you use it because you get to rapid fire and it generates 1 on attack.
Right, and that I'm not saying that's like I said, it's not bad.
Right, no, I'm just saying he gets more than I. The more I read this card, actually, I am surprised he's 3 points.
I think, but he also has to be at range 3 to do it, and yes, hip fire gets him 2 power automatically. But it also only 2 power, right? So he's never going to spike up to 3 or 4 every once in a while, like you might get with another character who gets a power for every
How about this? Considering you can walk up medium, hip fire, and then spec ops training back, because you'll get the 2 power guaranteed, unless you kill them with the first attack. I guess that's the only way. Which you just walk up, you double tap Hulk, and you fade into shadows.
No, like I said, I don't think he's bad. I 100% think he's aggressively costed at 3. And everyone should be excited about him, I think. But
I'm very excited to play this character.
But I do think that anybody who's crying power creep about him, I think he's going to be starved for power most of the time. And if he gets attacked and gets focused, he's going to go down really fast.
I don't think you could call power creep on Punisher
No.
over Valkyrie and the Spider People.
Right.
Like I think he's pretty in line with them.
Yeah. Our other 3-point character that we got. I don't know if we got any spoilers for this guy whatsoever until we got this card, and that's Taskmaster.
I think mostly because a lot of people don't have any exposure to him. This is one of the few characters that we haven't seen in the MCU, and so that being said, most people aren't very familiar with him because he's kind of a side character.
He's kind of a he's a really common villain. Actually, if you like find out like how many times his Taskmaster popped up in comic books, he's got a really high frequency of appearance because he's really easy to throw in as anybody's bad guy. He's a mercenary character in the universe, so he's always has a reason to be there just to make money. Also, he's not always, but he's commonly kind of a comic relief kind of bad guy, where he's almost comically dealt with in some way. Like he's usually the guy who, when the superhero gets mad and decides to just go ahead and smash it, like he's always the one under the fist or under the force field or under the fire, whatever it is. He's usually the one receiving the butt end of a joke when it comes to
the Trollkin, where it's like Warple's Stalker has to kill something. Obviously, it's going to be Trollkin.
Yeah, like in Civil War, he gets smushed by Invisible Woman's force field after he shoots Mr. Fantastic. Like the whole point is like he against Deadpool like always trounces him because his power set is he has the ability to remember the physical techniques of anyone he watches. And so Deadpool always beats him with like breakdance fighting and nonsense is the whole point because he's like can't follow him because he's Deadpool. So he's always like a character that's put in to I feel like he represents like a regular person in the Marvel universe who just has a gift, right? He has like a regular kind of gift, just
he's
a
kind of
photographic
like
memory.
Yeah, he's kind of like Sylar from Heroes, except he can't steal powers; it's just technique.
Yeah, and so and since he's kind of like a regular person who has this one little bit of extra ability, he just chose to use it for personal gain. That makes him a quote unquote bad guy. But he's very relatable as a character in the Marvel universe. I think he's a cool character in a lot of stories. I like that he exists, but he's definitely a punchline in most things that he shows up in. His card in the game though is really I stared at it for a while. I don't know if you looked at it a lot, Brandon.
He's kind of now I'm just reading it now. He's kind of like a mix between Captain America and Zemo is what I'm seeing.
Yeah, like he's ridiculously a mix of that, which is funny because that's literally like what his arms are. One arm is a sword, the other arm is Captain America's shield. You're like, okay. It also makes sense with his character, right? Because he's learned all of his tactics from watching other heroes and villains. So he literally gets a lot of this stuff from other heroes and villains. I like mnemonic technique actually. Mnemonic technique. Where he gets rolled extra attack. It's a 2-power attack that could get really big really fast.
Wait, what?
Mnemonic technique, his 2-power.
It's a 4-power.
No,
sorry. You mean a 2-power cost?
Yeah, it costs 2 power.
4 might.
4 might, and then gives you extra dice equal to the target's melee defense, which
physical defense.
And they can't modify or re-roll dice on the defense roll. He takes Captain America's head off. Really, he might just roll him over, even with all of Cap's cool stuff.
Well, he doesn't actually stop any of Cap's abilities.
Well, I'm saying just Cap will stack a lot of dice and defense dice, and then he will. He can bump himself up over those, which is one of the things Cap usually does. Is he matches your opponent's defense dice and then modifies them better than your opponent's attack dice. But
right. Well, I think you're just saying in general, but specifically this doesn't interact with Captain America at all. But yes, because Cap is adding 2 dice to the roll, not 2 to his defense stat.
Oh, I didn't know.
And then he's not modifying; he's just succeeding on blanks. He's not actually changing the dice. He's just adding new possible results.
Okay, so
so he's actually, I would say, poor against Cap, other than the fact that he gets an 8 dice attack against him, which is not nothing. But
I didn't realize that it didn't add to his defense. It's extra dice, not defense. Okay, right. Well, then yes, this he actually has one of the things that actually works against a mnemonic technique. Yeah. Awesome observation withdrawn. Hot take: is a bad take. But
No, it's fine. He has basically Counter Strike, except it's better because if you hit him twice, it's 6 dice on the second one.
mm-hmm.
Uh, in intuitive pattern recognition.
Really interesting. He gets better if you try to wail on him.
Oh, so not only does his Counter Strike gets better, he gets 2 extra defense dice.
Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah. So the whole point is,
I mean,
like,
immediately he's just showing to me that he's a counter to Punisher because Punisher can't like quad tap him.
Yeah.
That's funny.
Yeah, it's really
he's martial arts.
Yep.
Yeah, this guy's actually pretty solid.
Yeah. The one thing about him that I was curious. This is something I wanted to know. Rogue Agent.
Mm-hmm.
Every time I look at Rogue Agent, I love the ability because I love mercenary characters in every game.
Yeah.
So like I love the ability of Rogue Agent. But every time I bring up a Rogue Agent, you're always like, meh. Might as well just take a.
Well, that's just because Bucky's not very inspired.
Right. Is Taskmaster a reason to take Rogue Agent?
No, I think Taskmaster is going to see a lot of lists, and for that exact reason. I think he's good enough that you're going to see him taken specifically to fill roles, and that also on top of that, he helps out your faction bias. Yeah, so I'm actually pretty excited. Although he's in the Criminal Syndicate, right? That's what it says here. And I think that's just from the Criminal Syndicate card. I guess we could go to the tape. So let's go to Atomic Mass Games, Organize Play, and go to Affiliation Lists. Alrighty here. Criminal Syndicate has not been added yet. Nice. Thanks, Atomic Mass Games.
When did we get that card spoiled with?
Yeah, it was
Kingpin a long time ago.
Yeah, I can check on my phone.
He's on it. I got it.
Yeah,
he's on it.
I was pretty sure he was. Okay, so not only is he's also the first rogue agent that's part of an affiliation then, which is cool.
So he can easily. I mean, Criminal Syndicate combined with, like I'm looking at the list here, Criminal Syndicate combined with, Spider Foes. Actually, it's funny. Criminal Syndicate and Spider Foes they
have like 3 shared characters, don't they?
Yeah, they already have a bunch of things. They have Green Goblin, Kingpin, Green Goblin and Kingpin, and then Crossbones.
Okay, so there's 2.
Sorry, Crossbones. Taskmaster then counts as like a flip flopper for Criminal Syndicate is going to be a really cool splash because of Taskmaster being a rogue also.
Actually. Oh, we'll get into that later. I was just recalling, I can't remember what the faction card for Spider Foes is. Is it Well-Laid Plans? Is that their faction card?
No, we don't have it yet. It's the first one that we have. It did not.
Oh, that's right. It's with Angela, right?
Spider Foes?
Not Angela. Oh my god, that was a brain fart. Sorry, no.
No.
Who's the faction card with then?
I don't know because it didn't come with Green Goblin. That was one of the things we remarked. We haven't gone through each pack yet for characters.
Well, I mean, maybe they just won't get one, but maybe it's probably with like Kingpin or Mysterio or something then.
Right. We have not seen it, but
I was just recalling that Well-Laid Plans is more of a team up card than it is like a faction card.
It's just Green Goblin and Doc Ock. That's all you need for that. Which, by the way, is the reason to play Green Goblin and Doc Ock, which we mentioned that last time. God, it's so good.
Oh yeah.
Well-Laid Plans is so good. Okay, speaking of faction cards that have been spoiled, but next to things like Well-Laid Plans look really silly. Criminal Syndicate. The all according to plan, Kingpin's Criminal Syndicate reactive card.
Oh yeah, gain the priority if you spend 10 power on your characters.
Yeah, does that? First thing I saw that is I read the thing which said take a priority token. I read take priority token and I went, whoa, this is so good. And then I read 10 and I went, this smells trappy. I do not know.
Well, if you think about it though, a lot of those Spider Foe characters and the Criminal Syndicate characters are fairly cheap. They only have like 1 4-point character, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Because Kingpin's 4, right? Or is he 3?
Yeah, no, he's 4. He's absolutely
okay.
4. Look at you checking. You're checking, but he's 4.
I am checking. Kingpin's 4, Bullseye and Taskmaster are both 3. So this is probably going to be, I mean, just based on that, because that's 10 points for 3 characters so far. This is almost assuredly going to be a consistent 5-character list, if not 6. And so Saying 10 power sounds like a lot, but if you have 6 characters, it's really not as much as you would think.
I don't know if it's going to be a 6 character. MODOK, Killmonger, Green Goblin, they're all 4s. Crossbones is a 3, unless Black Cat is
In
a
Criminal
2.
Syndicate? Hold on. Maybe I'm just not looking at the right list then.
Yeah, Criminal Syndicate has a lot of 4s and 5 and 4s, 1 5. Bunch of 3s. Black Cat is likely to be a 2. I'd be very surprised if she wasn't a 2.
I apparently did not save the Criminal Syndicate card. I'm sad now.
Oh.
So yeah, I was looking at the wrong list of characters. Sorry, I just did a search for Criminal Syndicate characters, and it pulled up just those 3.
In terms of points, they do have a lot of 3-pointers. That's true, but
because even if you have 5 characters, it's pretty easy to get to 2 power on each. And if you're on like turn 4 and it's about to be an incredibly crucial turn, I think it might be worth it.
The other thing I considered is it has to be Criminal Syndicate characters. Never mind. The first thing I thought was get somebody with a Power Stone, and then you could easily you could easily get that, but you can't get that.
You said MODOK's on the list?
He is. He is a Criminal Syndicate character.
Well, you can give MODOK... Oh, no, he can't. What am I thinking?
Nope.
He is a Mind Stone, not can take the Mind Stone. I'm not thinking straight tonight. Anyway, well, I think we've theory crafted enough for this stuff because I keep coming with bad ideas.
Long story short, I maybe, like you said, I think the turning point will be is can you either need one more character or some really viable way to get power before it not to feel like a trap. Or
like not being able to take someone like Shuri and just do a power, battery with her. That makes it harder. Although you could do Shuri and then play the Shuri card that lets her spread out power, right?
Yes, you could take the spread out power card to try to get. And
then because you could just dump 5, give it to your Criminal Syndicate characters, and then they could immediately play the other card.
Somebody like Vision also, he doesn't need the Mind Stone. He can just bump power. I don't think you have to have Shuri to give the power out. I'm pretty sure that card is not a Shuri card.
Was it a Shuri card?
It came with Shuri, but it's not.
Yeah, that's true. I'm trying to remember what it's called.
I'm looking for it right now.
Yeah, me too.
Advanced R&D.
Yeah.
The character may spend up to 5 to play the card and give other characters 1 power.
Yeah, unaffiliated active. Yeah, any character.
The only problem with that is you have to have, if you have 5 power, which you don't have to have, you could do like 4 power, but you have to have 5 other characters in addition to the character playing Advanced R&D to actually get full 5. Or if you had something like 4, that might be enough to put it over. So if you had somebody like Vision, honestly, if I did it, I would do like Star-Lord with the Star-Lord Power Stone. That's 4 points.
What's the name of the card that Kingpin has? The 10 power one?
All according to plan. All according to plan. Muhaha.
I just want to make sure I have the wording down right. Reactive during power. Number of allied criminals that can spend power. Yeah.
I think it's going to be... if you really, really want to play all according to plan whenever you want it, I think like a Star-Lord with a Power Stone is a really great way to do it. He could stand on the back for most of the game and,
I don't know
range damage support, but that seems a lot. It seems like a lot of investment to just make sure this card happens. So maybe that's a trap.
Yeah, two tactics cards to gain the priority. I mean, it's interesting because it's definitely only going to be played if you're taking a large roster or a large team, because not only does it make it easier to play the card, but it makes it more likely you don't have the priority. Like those two combined together is why the card's going to be good. Like if you can build a 6 or 7 character list in them. I haven't looked at the points, and so that 7's probably unlikely. 5 or 6 is probably realistic. I'm just reading Kingpin now, seeing to think if he can get enough power to help. Like if he could generally donate 5, because his leadership ability is you spend power, you don't even get power back. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, you have to spend 2 power to
yeah, I don't see how you're gonna have enough power. Although you say that until they daze 3 of your characters and you're sitting on 21 power, and you're like, "Hey, look at me!" Like all of a sudden, it's very easy. Honestly,
go ahead.
I'd be willing to bet that it's very playable in a lot of games, and we're just overrating how much 10 power is.
Yeah. One more spoiler: we got our first X-Man.
Oh, that's true, because their site went down. They spoiled Wolverine.
Yep. So we know what Wolverine's. We only have the panel to play, which lets us know of what he does. We don't know exactly what he does, but he's. I love it. I think it's really funny. The panel to play actually mentions that he's got a physical defense of 4. He's got a lower mystical defense since magic and mental manipulation have never been his strong suit. And as soon as I read that, I choked on it because every Wolverine that's ever been in any comic book always has mental impenetrability because of his.
He's too mad.
It's his Weapon X conditioning. Like they purposely wanted to condition him to be the ultimate weapon, so they brainwashed him 8 different ways. So
well, from my experience, and let me do a episode to play here. I watched the entire X-Men TV show when they spoiled X-Men, all 5 seasons of the Marvel X-Men cartoon from the 90s on Disney Plus, and I can tell you, every time anyone in that show has a mental power, Wolverine just falls down or starts crying. And I'm literally not kidding. There was one episode where this guy creates an aura of fear, and he literally chickens out and runs every time he sees him. And the justification they give him, because he has an altercation with Beast later in the episode where he's like, hey, are you calling me a coward? He's like, actually, I'm saying the opposite, because you've never felt fear. It's that much more impactful to you because you have no defense mechanism against it because you've never been afraid before. I was like, that was the dumbest thing I've ever heard. But it was funny. It was funny. Yeah.
So
anyway,
I felt the same kind of funny when I read the panel to play. Moving forward, there's cool stuff. He's got a basic attack with 5 with bleed and pierce. Berserker Barrage, which is a callback to Marvel vs. Capcom Fighters. It's the 2D fighting game with the Street Fighter game that is just an amazing game. Back on the PlayStation 1 or 2 is the first one. But
the first one I think was Super Nintendo. I'm not sure. It might be PlayStation.
But Berserker Barrage is what he would say. And if you ever played that game and you played with Wolverine, it's Berserker Barrage, Berserker Barrage, Berserker Barrage is what you heard the whole time.
I don't want to go too hard into the panel to plays because we're also going to talk about it when his card gets spoiled, which is probably going to be in 2 weeks. But anyway. The high points is fine. So it's 4 physical defense, 2 mental, I think. 7 dice on his big attack, right?
Berserker Barrage. Berserker Barrage.
The coolest thing, I think, is that he heals 2 at the end of his activation, which is pretty nice. And then they mention that good luck dazing him because it's going to set off his berserk rage or whatever, which makes it sound like he's going to attack whoever dazes him.
Or he's got, maybe it's the backside. The backside has something called Wild Rage.
Yeah, maybe he's super angry on the backside. That would be cool if he just goes into rage mode on the back and is less hit points, but he's super dangerous.
And that's a really common part of the comic books too. He sees red, he lets the berserker out, he just goes crazy. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I think that's probably about enough news. We've had about 20 minutes of news here.
But there's so much news. That's what this game is all about.
There's a lot of news, but I'm pretty sure most people have already absorbed a lot of the news. But I'm excited. I think the next wave of stuff coming out, which is Punisher, Taskmaster. Not super excited about Daredevil and Kingpin, but most people are. I'm excited about Punisher. And then we're also going to be seeing the X-Men pretty soon, I think, because I'm pretty sure they're slated for a November, December time, which is going to be awesome. All right. So for everyone that listened to episode 1, we built a list. We're going to talk very briefly about what that list was, and then we're going to move into how to choose crisis cards to go with that list. So, Parker, do you want to go through the list or you want me to?
I can see the list.
Okay. So just quick generalization, we decided to try and build a 2-faction list, and so this is what we came up with.
It's the factions are Asgardians and Avengers, and it's got Agent Widow and Black Widow in the roster, and we clarified that you can have both of those in a roster, but just not on the team on the board at the same time. Captain America, Thor, Prince of Asgard, Loki, Valkyrie, Hela, Hawkeye, and Rocket Raccoon. Our 10th slot is filled up with a Mind Gem for Loki. And our tactics cards we chose from the Avengers side is Avengers Assemble. From the Asgardian side, Odin's Blessing and kind of also Sibling Rivalry. That makes sense with Asgardians because the two Asgardians play it. Drop Off, our generic other generics were Patch Up for some healing, Brace for Impact, situational card, Inspiring Monologue, just strong in general, and Mark for Death, which is kind of a new meta card we want to try out. We want to see how often it pops up. We think maybe often with the stuff that's coming up recently, so we're trying that out.
Also, we made this list last week, and I don't think in a lot of situations we actually needed Agent Window, specifically the 3-point version, to break the tie on Avengers. And so it's very possible that we end up dropping Agent Widow for Punisher in this list, in which case Mark for Death is also very strong. We just noticed that it seemed like beyond our very hard core of Captain America, Thor, and Loki, which make it into a lot of our lists, we needed more backline characters that could hold our own objectives while those three charge forward, and then Mark for Death seemed to complement those range characters really well. Okay, so moving on to the Crisis cards, we should talk a little bit about how our list is expected to play. And just like I was saying, we tend to have a brute squad that kind of groups up and takes over a portion of the table, and then specifically Loki and Thor, which are going to make it into, I think, every list that we are planning. And then Captain America can jump in there as well, or Valkyrie can jump out on a flank. And so we're probably going to have a really strong center of our list, and then we're going to have some cheap ranged characters to fill in our backlines. And so having defensive positions to hold would be really good. So like a deployment, I think is it deployment B, Parker? Can you check the deployment cards for me?
If you want center, or if we're talking about like center, like we want to have something in the center, C is the one that lines up on the center, as well as E.
Are you looking at extract or secures first?
Oh,
I guess you're just looking at deployments. So let's look at the objective list. No, you're fine, Parker.
Yeah.
Okay, so how do you want to select the missions first? Do you want to do secure and extract first? Do you want to do by deployment?
I like the idea. Whenever I'm playing any kind of miniatures game, I like to have a game plan of of everything until the first shot's fired. You know that old saying, everything goes according to plan until the first shot's fired. So I like to know what my plan is until
just
that
for
first
the record,
engagement.
I think it is no plan survives first engagement with the enemy is the phrase.
Got it. The point is, this particular list that we built has this, this really cool 1-2 punch of Drop Off and Sibling Rivalry, where you're planning on Loki and Thor to be next to each other, making use of Drop Off and Sibling Rivalry cool combo of, dropping in and throwing Loki, and then Loki and Thor being really excellent at disrupting opponents at the center, and Thor cleaning up as you go. And since that's going to be a key element of any game we play in, I think having objectives on that fight, or wherever that fight is going to be, is probably going to be key to also winning while you're doing that. So
let's do it like this. Let's ignore the red and blue for right now, and we're just going to choose scenarios that have the deployments we like and see how that goes. And then as we fill up one side or the other, we'll start looking at other things. And so I'm going to go to Crisis. I'm going to filter out the different deployments. Okay. So we've got A, B, C, D, E, and F. So just to remind everyone, A is the very weird one that the Wakandan herbs use, where there's basically two points in the corners on each, your right corner towards you and your opponent's right corner towards them. So opposite side, there's 2 points in each corner. The deployment B is the basic one where it's just one in each quadrant of the table. Deployment C is the 3 points along the center line at midpoint on the table. And then deployment D is kind of like the turn sideways version of deployment B, where there's one kind of in your deployment zone, and there's one on each flank, and there's one in your opponent's center. And then E, I don't even remember E. Oh, E is the gamma
Vertical
one, where it's reverse C. Yeah, so there's just 3 on the center line running between you and your opponent right at each other. And then F is with the quadrants, but also there's one dead center as well. That's the Extremis deployment.
Yeah, X marks the spot, right?
Yeah, exactly.
For this list, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I really like something where the star is in the center. That way, if I'm fighting over, I say star because that's what the objectives have, is the stars on them.
Yeah.
But the objective or the extract, secure or extract, I like them to be right in the middle. Because if Thor and Loki are going there 9 times out of 10, if that's my basic plan for most games, regardless if I'm picking Avengers or Asgardians and what I'm putting around them to play against my opponent, if I'm planning on Thor and Loki going to one spot in the middle, it actually is always better to be actually in the middle of the board laterally and vertically, because if something happens and I need Loki and Thor to respond to some other situation, if my core fighting duo that I'm counting on to carry me a lot of games and I'm investing crisis cards and everything else into, tactics cards and all these other things, I want them to be able to respond more easily. And if I have them, even if I have them in the center of a board, but always over on a flank, or if I have them in my opponent's quadrant on the other side, it's going to be really difficult for them to contribute in the later parts of the game. So
what I will say is, I think you're on the right track. I don't necessarily 100% agree, but you're definitely in the right frame of mind. And from playing a vaguely similar list to this, it is very different, but it's kind of along the same lines. I played a trap list for people that it's kind of hard to explain, but basically the list was Captain America, MODOK, and Hulk. And so basically it was just the angry people. And so that's 15 points exactly. So I would intentionally put the Gamma, what is it called? Gamma Wave Sweeps Across Midwest. It's the 15-point mission that has the 3 points running along the middle of the table from you to your opponent.
mm-hmm.
And so you get more points according to how far across the table you make it, basically. Right. And so I would always pick blue if I got the priority. And a lot of people tend to pick red because they want to pick their extract mission that they like. And so if I got blue and I drew one, I had the 2/3 chance of drawing the Gamma Wave mission. If I drew it, I would always pick it. And if I had priority, obviously I would choose 15 points because I'm dropping 3 characters, and the ability for me to activate the power of those 3 characters before my opponent got to, basically anything they moved into the middle to try and take the middle point immediately died and was dazed or was thrown out of range, or MODOK made them walk away. And so they were able to gain control of the center. And so more often than not, I would just body block them off the point because I have 2 large bases standing on the point so they can't quite get to it. And then Captain America standing behind them, bodyguarding for them. And if I need to, he can back up and score my friendly one. And so a lot of the time, I was just able to bully people off the center. And so they were scoring 1 while I was scoring 2. And it was just a really interesting concept. And if we played at 17, I would just throw in Black Widow and she would hold my point. And so it worked out really well. A lot of people did not like playing against it because if I trapped them at 15 points, most people hadn't planned a 15-point roster from theirs. And so they're only playing with 4 characters, and I'm only playing with 3, but I always have the priority, and my activation is more effective than theirs. So I would always daze one of their characters. So they would never actually activate more than me anyway.
I like E for any list that's going to just straight up want to fight, like one fight in the middle. Like it's like I want to fight one fight. I don't want to fight 3 small fights across this map. I want to fight one fight.
I want to just dogpile in the middle, and I think our list is really good at that. So yes. I think the first card we should add is going to be the Gamma Wave mission. So I'm going to go ahead and drop that in.
There are currently are there 3 maps with E? 3 different things with E?
There's 1 Gamma Wave. That's it.
There's Gamma Wave and the Montesi formula, the new one that came with Doctor Strange. It's E.
Oh, okay, that hasn't been added to the format yet. Okay.
I have the card.
What's it called again? Can you say it again?
The Montesi formula found. It's an extract.
Okay, it hasn't been added to the online database yet, which is why I can't see it.
Mm-hmm.
Why don't you read me the card then?
Sure. So the setup is you place 3 spell books on E, and you get 1 VP for having a spell book. When you pick up a spell book, you have to interact, and you get access to an attack once per turn. It's a beam 3, 6 dice, 0 power required. You just get to shoot a mystic beam.
Okay, beam 3, 6 dice. Character on spelling falling, attack once per turn. Yep.
So yeah, there are
Extraction
and
on the moon.
there's I will actually say that there is another E that just got also released
Yeah, I noticed that.
with Ghost Rider, the flaming portals. So there are now three E. Sorry, there are now three E's: Montesi, Gamma Wave, and
Demons Downtown.
Demons Downtown. Yep. So
Ooh, you gain the Incinerate special condition if you're
yeah,
controlling it.
yeah.
Oh, so it actually makes you weaker.
No, it's not if you're controlling. It's all characters within one. So if you're contesting, you're also incinerated.
Yeah, sorry, if you're contesting, yes, that's what I meant to say.
Yeah.
Because you don't actually score the objective with characters. Characters just contest, and then conditionally they score.
Right.
Okay. All right, then. Because there's multiple E's, there's actually some questions here. So, first of all, do you like the Gamma Wave sweeps across Midwest? With the you get more points the further across the big table you get. I specifically like this one because if they run away from Thor and Loki and Captain America in your ball of hate, they're pretty much screwed because you'll just start scoring 3 points at a time.
How with the Gamma Wave, it's 15 points. Is our list flexible?
So I built the 15-point list already.
Mm-hmm.
It's Thor, Loki, Cap, and Black Widow.
That
Let me
sounds
double
great.
check. Right, exactly. So you've got the Black Widow to hold your back point. Captain America follows them up the board for as long as he wants to and bodyguarding. And then when they want to split off, Thor and Loki push to the third point. Or you can change up the combination. But that's just the most strong individual pockets. Because the further you dig Loki into their army, the more debuff they're going to be, which is going to make Thor effectively stronger.
Yeah, Loki coming at you is just always so annoying.
Mm-hmm.
It's just
and
like,
if they try and gang up on Loki, he's so hard to actually get a hold of, especially when you've got a bodyguard standing next to him.
Oh my gosh!
And so the goal the goal is Captain America takes literally as many hits for them as he can, getting across the table, and then gets them there clean. And those two clean can take out pretty much any two characters.
Yeah, I like Gamma Wave for sure.
Mm-hmm. So I've thrown in Gamma Wave already. I like the concept of the E deployment. The other one I was considering is C because you are pretty good at holding the center line. But E, I think, is even better because it forces you to the middle without forcing your ranged people forward, which is nice. So I'm liking the deployment on E a lot. So let's see. We've got the Demons Downtown. I'm not a huge fan, although it is a 19-point mission. So let's see what a 19-point list looks like. Do we like 19 points? So far, I'm liking it. I'm going to be honest. Let's see. 1, 2.
I think, if I remember correctly from last episode, the 19-point list was really solid.
So it is, if we're playing the Avengers side, it is Thor, Loki, Captain America, Hawkeye, and Valkyrie.
That seems super strong.
Seems just absolutely brutal in an E deployment.
Yeah.
Just for moving on, because this is going to get kind of confusing. When we say the deployment type, let's say the phonetic. So E is echo. That way it doesn't sound like D or C or whatever. So echo.
Got it.
Yeah, so I think I like the 19-point mission. So the question is, do we want to have people get incinerated? Because that actually, I believe incinerate is the lose a defense die, right?
Mm-hmm.
It is. Are you confirming or just humming?
No, I'm looking actually.
Oh, okay. So I was flipping over to the rules. I'm pretty sure it is.
There's as much as I love this game, there are so many special conditions.
The character removes one die from its defense rolls. Yeah, I was right.
Uh-huh.
So that's actually hurts our list a lot. So let's see.
Yeah. I mean, it doesn't help, does it? I mean, it does. There are very few creatures that don't care. Sorry, creatures. There are very few characters that don't care about losing.
Yeah, but our we have a small list that tends to take a lot of attacks because we move forward a lot. I don't know that I like this mission specifically. I do like the list it lets us play, though. Let's look at another combination. What's the other Echo deployment? Is Formula found 17 points, so less inspiring. You lose 2 points, which means you're losing Hawkeye and Valkyrie for Hela, I guess. Or you could lose Hawkeye and Valkyrie for Black Widow and Rocket, which is probably better.
That's better.
That is better. And it's okay. I mean, it's a good 17-point list.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I like that one. So I'm going to throw in the formula as our extract. Unfortunately, this doesn't have it uploaded.
For Echo deployment, right?
Yeah. Oh, so the formula is uploaded. Okay, it's just because it was under extract, it wasn't showing it as an option. That's why I was confused.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Although being that it's an extract, it's not going to force people to stay there.
But fights generally. Also,
yeah, I mean,
it's in a row. So if they want to get the other extracts, they've got to come at least to the middle center. Like,
sure.
They're going to be able to extract the one back. Like they'll get that.
And being that we have did I unclicked these apparently? Let me rebuild my 17 real quick. I'm pretty sure I remember it. Yeah, so and also it lets you have Black Widow, which is really good about grabbing one and running away. So I think I like that. That's a good 17-point list because the 17-point list that we would be playing in that deployment complements the type of mission really well. So I like that. So I got that down. That's second mission for sure.
So we got Montesi, Formula, Gamma Wave. I was actually going to say that I think for our list, tell me what you think about Foxtrot deployment.
The Foxtrot deployment. So we've got Spider Infected, Invade Manhattan as an extraction. I'm not a big fan of this one because they can get moved around, and positioning is really important with your list because it's mostly melee. Obviously, if Black Widow gets pushed around, it's not that big of a deal. However, on the flip side, if you get lucky and you get to push them into your melee range, that's nice. But I mean, I think it has more of a chance to hurt you than help you. So the Foxtrot deployment in general, I like. So let's see. Struggle for the Cube, I think, is a great one. Getting more power is good. Taking damage isn't great, but they're taking damage too. I think Cube is probably a good one because the Cube can score really fast, and so it forces them. Because if they're going to just not play and give you 3 cubes, you will win the game before they get a chance to do anything about it.
Also, Thor with a cube is scary as hell because he has the health to take it, and then he's just like womp womp womp. He's just doing
both Thor
so
and
much.
Loki getting extra power is never a good thing. Cap getting extra power, like he already takes so little damage that it's not a big deal for him anyway. And so if he has enough power to keep bodyguarding on top of it, that's annoying.
Your 3 frontliners, like the 3 frontliners we picked specifically, like to turn their power into overwhelming force or fantastic defensive abilities. So, like, you're going to get that 1 damage back in other ways with that power. So,
okay. So I've thrown in
Cube.
Struggle for the Cube continues, just because. One of them. That's why. So let's see here. What is deployment delta again?
Delta is the
here we go.
Is the 4
the
on the center lines.
Yeah, it's 2 on the middle, separated, and I'll just explain it in case people at home are trying to follow along. You have 1 objective, 5 forward, centered in your deployment zone, and then your opponent has the same, and then there's 2, 3 in on the center line on the sides, and so This is actually a really good one if you've got Black Widow because she's so good at getting to those side points, especially on extraction missions. She can generally get over there and get out before she gets killed because she is fairly dodgy most of the time.
Also, I really like Delta for ranged characters. If you have a nice ranged core, because they can often. If you have a ranged character hanging near your deployment on that back one, that's awesome. Or even if they have to swing all the way over to an edge, like if your opponent just gives up one of the flanks, you can set your ranged character over there and not expect a lot of reciprocity while they're doing something across the whole midsection of the field. So I like Delta for this, even though there's not objective in the center where we might prefer it. I do like it for the list that has ranged options like ours does. But I think since our ranged options usually show up at slightly higher point values, we might be looking for a delta that lets us run a little bit higher points, maybe.
So what I was going to say is the reason I even looked up Delta is I want to run Fear Grips World as worthy terrorized cities. So the worthy, if you aren't familiar,
Mm-hmm.
is the hammer mission, and so
Yeah.
it's deployment D, it's an extraction, and then it's a when you pick up the hammers, you add 1 die to your attack rolls, all attack rolls made. So it works with ranged characters or melee characters. The only problem is you have to pay 1 additional for each celestial hammer you have to play a crisis team card, or sorry, a team tactic card. And so on this one, it's really good because you've got a lot of hard hitting characters. You've got a lot of ranged characters that can apply their damage from far away. Like Rocket loves this mission because if he can get,
Yeah.
he's going to get your middle one that's free basically. And then he can run over to the side, whichever side they put like no one over by. He can sneak up there and grab that one, and now he can roll 9 dice with his big attack. It's freaking crazy. And then if
Mm-hmm.
you want, you can run Captain America around with him to bodyguard for him once he gets to, and he's just a nightmare. So
Yeah.
I think this is really good. So that does fill out our extractions, and if we want to, we can drop one of those. But let's start looking more specifically at the secure missions. So let me sort through here and pull up our blue missions on the spreadsheet. That way we'll... Okay. So, remaining options, we've already done the Echo mission, and that's the only one we've done so far. So our options are Bravo, Charlie, and Delta for secure are the only ones we have left. So let's take a look at those deployments, see if we like them. Delta we talked about. It's okay. It's not ideal, but it's good because of how
Mm-hmm.
many support range characters we throw in.
I do not like Bravo for this. Um,
I do like Charlie because it
yeah.
forces people forward to the center line.
To the middle. Yeah.
Yeah, and we're just kind of going to have Bash Bros run around in the middle of the table.
Also, if you can get one of the Delta missions with a Charlie mission, then you're going to have fights in the middle.
Mm-hmm. Delta deployment is, yeah, the hammers.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So our options are Extremis, Spider People, Black Order Descends for Delta. And then our only options are Meteors Mutate Citizens for Charlie and Infinity Formula for Bravo. But we've already said we kind of don't like those too much. So I like Extremis. Being able to heal people when you've got really hard to kill characters is really nice. Are you familiar with Extremis?
I'm reading it again. I
Yeah,
don't know
it's
how.
you interact with it to remove a damage from a character within 2. And so, let's say, for example, you have Captain America, Thor, and Loki sitting on a point, and Captain America has 1 hit point left. Each time one of them activates, they can interact with the objective and remove a damage from Cap.
That sounds great, but that means your core fighting group is either on a flank or in their deployment zone.
Well, but it does mean you're on a point. So, yeah, it's going to be where you are, but obviously they're going to kind of, everyone on the table is going to kind of gravitate to the objectives, specifically the secure objectives, because the extraction points are usually going to be picked up by turn 2. So all the extractions are going to be up on turn 2, and they're going to be moving towards the secures so that you can get more points. And
Yeah,
so I think that's okay. I've played this one repeatedly with Cap and Loki and Thor, and it's done me well in the past. So I think it's a good one. It's not necessarily the best. I don't like the Spider People one because I don't like it moving you around.
Yeah.
Let's see the Black Order one. I haven't read the Black Order one in a while. Cosmic Invasion. I remember this one's kind of wonky. During the power phase, cosmic volts will radiate cosmic energy. Start with the player with priority. Players roll dice for each character they control within range 1 of a cosmic volt. If the result is a critical or wild, that character gains 2 power and is pushed from the vault short before rolling for the next character. Opposing character resolves this push.
So you're getting a whole lot of power, but it forces you to move. If you
It's
have
also
like
a
list,
16-point scenario. Let me
yeah,
play around with 16 points.
I feel like this scenario is really good for movement shenanigan characters. Like I like this scenario a lot for like spider web warriors because I feel like with all their movement shenanigans and getting extra power, like who cares if they get pushed a little bit? They're going to be back to where they need to be at some point. Um, I like it for somebody for a faction like that who you're planning on doing a lot of movement stuff.
I really don't like 16 points with this list.
Yeah, that's the
So
other
I'm
thing
looking
with
at
spider people.
Thor, Loki, Cap, and Hawkeye or Agent windows, basically their option. We drop out of Avengers, it gets a little bit better because you can drop Valkyrie in and then pick up like Black Widow and Rocket. That's not terrible if you want to play the Avenger or the Asgardians. And we've been building mostly Avengers lists. I think I'd be happy to play this. This keeps the core concept around. It's a little
Mm-hmm.
less defensive, but it has a lot of damage output.
Mm-hmm.
Rocket, Valkyrie, Black Widow's more of a scenario piece, but then you've got Thor, Loki still. Like that's a lot of output for 16 points. So I don't necessarily hate the 16-point one.
I think you should switch. I think switching the Guardians. We always like go for the Avengers first. Is kind of the top shelf we reach for because
Yeah, and part of that is
but
just me because I play Avengers all the time. So
right, but I think because Captain with Loki and Thor is such a difficult nut to crack. But the Asgardian version of this, you guys convinced me last episode that it's totally viable. I totally see it. It is more of a get up and
yeah,
get your way.
surprisingly, or non-surprisingly, the Asgardians do more damage, and
Mm-hmm.
the Avengers are harder to kill. Like that's kind of like how it
Yeah.
works.
Uh,
So I'm going to slide in Cosmic Invasion unless you have a big argue against it. I know you get pushed, but in a lot of the Asgardians, specifically because that 16 points, if that ends up
mm-hmm.
being the priority choice, at 16 points, you're playing mostly Asgardians, and you're looking at maybe 4 power a turn for that. And most of them have a charge or a throw or something, some way to either
Yep.
close the gap or modify the engage. I really like that. I think that's good.
I I,
Also,
I
don't
think
forget
for mhm.
don't forget Loki is the Mind Stone. So potentially you can Mind Stone someone forward into range of all your guys. I think this is the way to go. Cosmic
Yeah,
Invasion.
I actually I didn't like it for the Avengers list because that's where my head was at when I read it at first. But when I think about
Mm-hmm.
the Asgardians, how many different ways they have to go back in, and also Asgardians with even more power becomes it's like full tilt.
Yeah, yeah.
Like
When Loki's getting 5 a turn, you're like, all of a sudden, Trickster is happening every single turn, and he's just
yeah,
driving you insane.
yeah. The thing is with Asgardian with a stone and this particular set, it's as if Loki is taking 4 damage every turn, and he's not. And you're just
Yeah, yeah.
you're getting all the things you should be while you're almost dead. Like
Mm-hmm.
that's really that's one of the ways that I've started to think about like power accumulation in this game. If you find a way to increase the amount of power you're getting, you're functionally making your character uh, like almost extra health. Like you're living longer than you should be because the character, the way they the way they
Yeah, I get
curve a
what you're
character.
saying.
Yeah,
I don't
like the
know
way
that I totally agree, but I definitely understand where you're going with that.
it's not exactly synonymous. It's
Mm-hmm.
not equal. It's not
Yeah,
equality,
obviously you're not more
but
survivable, but it's because generally speaking, we correlate their output throughout a game with effectively how much health they have in a non-direct way because the
mhm,
amount that you get to do is generally based on how much power you accumulate. And
right.
so if you've ever played the Extremis and in, what's it called, the formula ones, Infinity Formula, I think it is.
Hmm.
Is that what it's called, the Infinity Formula? I'm going nuts now. Yeah, Infinity Formula. So you're getting potentially 3 power on each character every turn. It adds up super fast, but you're also
Right.
taking damage for the cubes, and
Hmm.
so it's not really as good as you think it is because all of a sudden by the time you have 10 power, you're dead. So it's not a big deal.
Exactly. It
Um,
also like if you were taking that damage from an attack, you'd be getting 1 power. So yeah, you get double the power for taking a damage, but that's what you did. You just doubled the power for taking a damage. Unlike uh, the Black Order, in which case you're doubling the power for a movement effect. If you can mitigate that some way, if that's something you can do, then it's a fantastic efficiency piece. On top of Asgardians already getting extra power, so it's
yeah, No,
I think
I
it's
think
great for
it's.
Asgardians.
Isn't it funny though? Like initially we were like, man, I hate this mission with our list, and then all of a sudden we switch from Avengers to Asgardians, and you're like, I love this mission. Like it's. And we were talking about last episode, if you guys were listening, that how it wasn't a big deal to switch. Like if you build a two faction list, why would you ever play the other faction? Well, we've just organically found a great situation where you would immediately switch and be happy about it.
Yeah,
So that's a good feeling.
You've changed my mind. At the beginning of the episode last time, I was sure that I couldn't think of a reason not to just play the one faction I was planning on, but now I am realizing that, especially with things like the crisis cards, you can really easily flip something around when you have the ability to switch factions with your list.
Okay, so I feel like our best choice for the secures are, we've already taken Gamma Wave. That was the first one we took. Cosmic Invasion, I think we've agreed on. And then I think the best last one is Riot Sparks over Extremis 3.0, which is the heal one.
I'm gonna trust you with that one. I do not know if I like it, but
I will tell you, if you heal Captain America 3 times with the Extremis console, Jeremy will quit. So that's a free win if you're playing against Jeremy. Jeremy will just start picking up his models and not talk to you for at least an hour. Like, it's great. You should try it. Jeremy's on the podcast, doesn't even know it. I only make fun of him because he hates Captain America. Like, I've never seen, like, if you ever played War Machine, I hate Haley 2 and Lich 2. But oh my god, does he hate Captain America. He's like, take your fucking dinner plate, go home.
Actually, a point to Extremis is the interact thing sounds really good, but you have to have a character that's okay with using the interact. Like, he has to be willing to give that up. Loki is a really good character to continue doing his thing and then also healing people. Like, he's a really nice character to push.
You gotta
remember,
though, it doesn't cost an action, it just costs a power. And so if you start doing the math in your head, if you're like, well, is it worth spending a power to gain a hit point? And you realize that you already got the power for the hit point, you're literally just preventing damage.
So, so again, convince me why Extremis is good then. Because
so that's just what I'm saying. Fine. I walk up and let's say I punch Loki, right? I gotta get Loki dead. He's injured. I'm trying to get him dead. He's got like 4 hit points. So you punch him, right? He takes 1 damage. I punch him again. I bodyguard with Cap. Cap takes a damage. All right, I punch him again. He tricksters away. He's like, okay, now their turn. And then they just heal Cap and Loki before you can end up getting back to him. And you're like, oh. Like it's just more control over the situation. And if you don't have Cap, you have access to Odin's Blessing. So they come in, they punch you, and you're like, oh, look, I am a god. I blocked 4 or 3. And you're like, oh, okay, so you take 1. All right, I punch you again with like 6 hits. You're like, all right, I'll just play Odin's Blessing. I take 1. And you're like, awesome. I punch you again. It's like, I'll trickster away. You're like, all right, your turn. All right, I heal Loki the 1 damage you did. He's like, I'm going to fucking kill myself. Like what is happening? Like, you just can't get to him. And not to mention, he's debuffing your rolls the whole time.
Yeah, the whole time.
And then you're like, oh, cool, I'll just blast you with my ice beam, slow you, and move away. What are you doing? And I'm standing here. That's what I'm doing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like Extremis. It's definitely not the best mission, but also part of it is going to be, like, let's look at these. Can we see? All right, so we've got, I'm going to take some notes here. So we've got the, did I save these? Oh, this has just been updated since I wrote these down. That's why they don't match. That's why I'm confused. Okay. The Montesi formula is how many points, Parker? Can you check these for me?
17.
17. Struggle for the Cube is 17.
Most of us
the
are
Worthy is 18. Gamma Waves is 15. Extremis is 17. And I believe Cosmic Invasion is 18? It is. No, it's 16. Yeah. 16, sorry. Okay. So looks like we're not playing over 17 very often because we've only got the 118. But 116,
unless our opponent obliges us, right?
That's true. Because, you got to remember your opponent's going to pick one of these.
Yeah.
Data, sort range, descending. Perfect. Okay. 15, 16, 17, 17, 17, 18. Okay. Well, I mean, that makes it a lot easier to build lists because there's the vast majority of the time you're playing between 16 and 18, which is pretty standard, but you're probably going to be shooting for 17 most of the time. I am very excited. I want to try this list.
Power to you.
Okay, so now that we know our point totals, I'm going to build one list each way. So an Avengers and an Asgardian list for each point total, as an example, in case you guys end up playing and you want to know what we think. I think Thor and Loki are in literally every list because that's kind of the point. That's the core. Is those two work really well together. We've got the tactics cards to help them out, and they both fit either way. So going Asgardian first at 15. So Thor, Loki, Valkyrie. 3 points remaining. Who do you think is better?
What is
Hawkeye
the 15 point?
or
What is the
Black
15
Widow?
point list? Which one is 15 points? Is that Gamma
15
Wave?
points is the Gamma Wave, so it's a very aggressive one. So I think Hawkeye's probably better because he can contribute from back.
Are you specifically making an Asgardian one? I thought we agreed
Yes,
that the
I'm doing
Avengers
one
one
of
was
each.
super strong.
I'm doing one of each.
Gotcha. I'm listening.
Chill, it's okay. So each point total, because apparently I didn't explain it very well. Each point total, I'll do Asgardian and then Avengers,
No,
and then we'll just go down the 5 point total or the 4 point totals anyway.
I'm following.
Because 17, there's 3. Okay, so the 15 point list for Asgardians is Thor, Loki, Valkyrie, and Hawkeye.
I really like that.
Mm-hmm. Then switching over to the Avengers is Thor, Loki, Captain America, and then probably
Widow.
Rocket.
No, I thought we said Widow.
Oh no, it has to be Widow. That's right, or else
Yeah.
it's a tie. Because Rocket's not an Avenger. All right, so yeah, Black Widow, Captain America, Thor, and Loki.
Unless you watch the movie, in which case he's kind of an Avenger.
Yeah. Okay, so 16 points for Asgardians is Thor, Loki, Valkyrie. Because oh my god, Valkyrie's so good.
Valkyrie is so good.
so
I
I
remember
have
the
4
first
points
time you ever sent a Valkyrie at me, and you're like, all right, I am going to activate Valkyrie, and then I was.
Oh, that's
done,
a 3 point character. You mean like Doc Ock or Iron Man? I'm like, yeah. Sure.
Yeah, and you took out. I think you dazed 2 Wakandans in a single turn, and I was like, oh.
Yeah, I think it was like Black Panther and Killmonger, and you're like, what was that?
No, it was Okoye, I think. But you dazed both of them in one activation. I was like, well, that bitch is gonna die.
To be fair, I think you had just dazed her, so she came in with like 9 power. It was so gross.
Yes, I managed to alpha strike her with like a crazy attack from Panther. I remember that. Yeah.
All right, so the Asgardian 16 point list. Yeah, I love, just absolutely love. This is the Cosmic Invasion one. It's Thor, Loki, Valkyrie, Black Widow, Rocket. I want to play this list. This looks so mean, just so dirty.
That does look like dirty pool.
Okay, so the Avengers version. So we're basically a 13 point module to get Thor, Loki, Cap, because that's how Avengers works when you're playing these two. So 3 points left has to be an Avenger model to break
Agent
the
Widow.
tie. So it has
Or
to be
Hawkeye.
Agent Widow or Hawkeye. I think Hawkeye's better at 16.
Mm-hmm.
I just think Hawkeye's better than Agent Widow. I mean, she's good if you don't have Black Widow or like someone else in here. I think Hawkeye's probably better, at least if you don't already have a ranged character.
Right.
But if you had like 5 points to spend, I think Hawkeye Rocket is an amazing module too.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so bumping up to 17 for the Asgardians is basically 12 points for everyone but Hela. And if you like Hela for 4 points, she's pretty easy to slide into a bunch of these. So Thor, Loki, Valkyrie, and we're looking for 5 more points. We have 3. So this is a perfect example. You could throw in Hawkeye and Rocket. That gets you to 17. That's a good 5 point module. If you wanted to do the... no, that doesn't work. You could drop Rocket for Black Widow if you want another like close range scenario piece. Like if you've got like a flank scenario you need to hold, Black Widow's probably better than Rocket, obviously. So that's an option. I think that's honestly, it depends on the scenario, it depends on your opponent. Black Widow or Rocket in here, but the list is basically Thor, Loki, Valkyrie, Hawkeye, and then do you want more range? Do you want more scenario?
Right.
Okay.
Also, you want an aggressive piece, because Rocket cannot play aggressively and expect to live, but Black Widow can play aggressively and expect to get at least get in and get out, most likely. It might be hard to pin her down and kill her.
Okay. All right, so coming in here, we have the Avengers version, Thor, Loki, Cap, obviously. looking for 4 more points, I think this is pretty obviously Rocket Widow plug-in.
Yeah, it's really the only way to do it with what we got
Yeah, I
here.
mean, your other option is you don't
Wait, hold on.
have.
Have you put the Mind Stone in any of this list yet? Any of these
Oh
lists yet?
shit, you're right. I haven't even been thinking. What am I thinking? Well, I mean, I think the Mind Stone is also a matchup thing. Like, you don't always need the Mind Stone. In
Right.
fact, I usually don't play it, but having it there is pretty nice. Like, if you know your opponent has like, God,
Captain America.
honestly, Black Panther, Captain America, Hulk most of the time. Like, there's
Mm-hmm.
so many. Like, I just gotta move this guy right now. Like, there's a lot of them that are definitely useful. But like we said, because we've got a bunch of twos and a bunch of threes, you can pretty make that work at any level. But yeah,
Yeah.
I consider the Mind Stone a counterplay option. You're basically playing a point down to make sure that you can answer your opponent's problems. But there's
You're also passively buffing Loki's disruption abilities all the time because he's stuck in there doing his powers more often.
well, he doesn't move himself; he moves enemies.
No, what I mean, he gets more power. So if he's not using the Mind
True.
Stone
Well,
actively for the Mind Stone,
he doesn't need power to do his disruption stuff. His
no, but
disruption stuff's a passive.
to keep himself alive is what I'm saying. To
Oh well,
use
that's
his.
what Cap's for.
I get it. I get it. I'm just
I don't think
saying.
you get it.
For
You
example,
use
if
Captain
you
America, Parker.
if we're not playing Avengers, if we're playing as
Then use Odin's
Guardians,
blessing. No, I
once
get what you're saying. I know.
I'm just
You,
saying,
you
Mind Stone is not like a lot. If you only consider the Mind Stone on Loki as something that's going to be a control piece, it's great for that, but it's not the only thing it's going to do for him. It's going to passively keep his defensive, reactive abilities up
yeah,
more
I know.
often.
I was just being mean. I know what you mean.
Yeah,
Yeah, I totally
I
agree.
I get
There's
it.
a
I'm
lot
going
of
to
matchups that you're going to want to take the Mind Stone in.
yeah.
But yeah, again, that's like an add-in. You can choose to downgrade a Hawkeye to a Rocket or something like that, or just cut a 2 point character and upgrade someone else. Like, obviously, I expect our listeners to be able to do simple math of -1 + 1.
But I think one of the things that we can say to our listeners that I think your point is really important is
Mm-hmm.
the Mind Stone was put in here to foil your opponent's likely very obstinate characters. When you look at it, you're like, okay, well, that's a Thanos with a bunch of gems, perhaps. That's a Hulk. That's a Captain America and Black Panther with inspiring monologue and all kind of stuff. Like, there's if you've got that facing down against you, you're like, well, if they put that character in a situation that I must compromise or I'm losing the game on objective, then I need the Mind Stone. And making that switch from Hawkeye to Rocket, if you can do it and still keep your faction quality, is so nice. It saves games like instantly because you took a Mind Stone.
Yeah, let's see. So the 17-point Avengers list, if I didn't already say it, is Thor, Loki, Cap, Black Widow, Rocket. Um, so adding in the Mind Stone in this example, obviously you drop Rocket and Black Widow, throw in the Mind
For
Stone,
Hawkeye.
and add Hawkeye. Yeah, that's
Yep.
17.
And that
Um,
you lose. And so you functionally, what you really did is you upgraded Rocket. Probably is kind of what you did for the
yeah,
list.
you're basically dropping Black Widow to upgrade Rocket to Hawkeye and upgrade Loki.
Yeah.
I don't know if you could ever call Rocket to Hawkeye an upgrade, but they are different.
Mm, th- yes, I'm not saying they're directly an upgrade,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
they're performing similar functions for your list.
Yes,
And
exactly.
yeah,
You're
I think
buying
also
you're buying hit points. Yeah.
yeah. Also, what you bought hit points and you bought I can actually win this game against something really obstinate that I can't kill,
Hmm.
like because Mind Stone. Super incredibly important effect to dig out victory from defeat.
So now we're on to Asgardian 18 points. Obviously, you're taking the suite of Thor, Loki, Valkyrie. Let's see. So we have 6 points left to spend. This might be a Hela game. She can get some action here because you can throw in
Mm-hmm.
Hela and Rocket, or Hela and Black Widow. Probably Hela and Rocket because Hela's already kind of a flank scenario piece, so you don't really need
Yeah.
Black Widow. And then obviously dropping down, you'd probably cut Hela for Hawkeye and throw in the Mind Stone, or you could drop Hela for Agent Widow. She'd probably be a better flank scenario piece if you needed it. If you don't, just more firepower with Hawkeye.
I really
I
like
actually really
Hela.
like this.
Wait, go ahead. Are you talking about the Asgardian version of this list?
Yes.
But you already have enough as Guardians. Oh yeah, because you have Valkyrie.
Yeah, because
also,
you start
right?
with the
Yeah.
3. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think the Hela option is fine. Um, but if you want the Mind Stone, you pretty much have to cut Hela because then you end up with the 4 as Guardians and the Mind Stone is 17,
Mm-hmm.
which is kind of intended. And
Yeah.
then you can't add anyone. So let's see the Avengers version cap. 5 points left with the starting 3. So obviously you're taking Rocket, Black Widow, and the Mind Stone if you need it,
Mm-hmm.
or you're taking. Let's see, because you have to have Black Widow to break the tie on another character. 3 points left. Yeah, so it's Rocket and the Mind Stone or Hawkeye if you're
Well, couldn't you
not.
do Agent Widow Rocket? Isn't that the right number of points? Am I crazy? Without
You
the Mind
could
Stone?
do Ancient Widow Rocket instead of Black Widow Hawkeye. That's true.
Mm-hmm. I think that's just depending. Like one of the things I like about Agent Widow in this list, and I like it's kind of strange. You go, why'd you put Black Widow and Agent Widow in list? Because they both are kind of aggressive,
Yeah,
elusive
they're
objective
both
hunters.
kind of like medium to close range skirmisher
Uh
objective
huh.
holders that cost 1 point different, which is exactly
Right.
what you want.
Exactly, but it looks kind of discongruous when you're building a
Yeah,
roster. You might think, oh, I need lots of variety, but what you actually what we've done here is we've got Hawkeye and Rocket are functionally two backliner range support range damage dealers, and they're just 1 point different. Agent Widow, Black Widow are two, elusive objective takers, one
yeah.
point difference.
I
So it
think it's
allows
funny
you to
because
just yeah.
if you look at this list, it looks like a 10-year-old was like, I like these characters, just like threw them all together. Like, it doesn't look like there's much, like, it's so straight laced down faction lines, just with
Mm-hmm.
an obvious divide in the middle. There's like, I like these guys and these guys. And so it feels like you just threw it together. But honestly, the more times I find combinations, because when I just throw lists together, commonly I'll be like, man, I need an 18-point list. I'm like, there just really isn't a good 18-point list here, and like because I didn't think enough about it, or like I wanted to take
Mm-hmm.
some character. Like I threw Venom in the list just because I like Venom and not because I actually planned on playing him. And so
Mm-hmm.
like I'll run into those a lot where there's like 4 characters where it's like these are my bros that I don't ever play, but I like their models. And then here's the 6 characters I'm always going to play.
I really, really like the redundancy we did on the
Mm-hmm.
ancillary characters.
I
Like,
agree.
I really, really like the redundancy on those because you got like a core, like flexible core of different ideas.
Exactly.
But then
And
there's,
it worked out
oh
so
man,
well because our scenarios are in that nice little tight bandwidth. Like the majority of our
yeah,
lists are 17. There's only the 2. Because even if you pick Gamma Wave, if you
hmm
get the priority, you're probably choosing 17 points. If your opponent drops anything that your opponent chooses, you're probably picking. And then if your opponent chooses 15, you're like, all right, like
uh,
that's fine. Like it's not going to
uh,
hurt me more than you. I just would prefer to have more beat stick models.
before our listeners wonder why we're patting ourselves on the back so hard, just so we're aware, we're discovering this with you guys at the
Yeah,
same time.
this wasn't
we are
scripted.
Yeah, we are very excited that we found this as much as we are happy that we happened upon it. So,
Well,
that's one of
apparently
the reasons why I
my
really like this.
my 8 months of panning for gold in Asgardians with Thor is not over yet. I still have plenty of room to pan for this gold.
Yeah.
All right. So I think we've pretty much beaten this to death for like
Uh
combinations.
huh.
I think if you
Yes.
can't figure out how to build a list with this roster at this point, then you should just roll some dice and figure it out.
Yeah.
So one last time running through, the characters should be pretty obvious. It's Thor, Loki, Valkyrie, Hela, the 4 Asgardians currently released. Captain, Black Widow, Agent Widow, Hawkeye, Rocket. The Mind Gem is the 10th slot. And then we tactics cards. We have Odin's Blessing, Avengers Assemble, Sibling Rivalry, Drop Off, Patch Up, Brace for Impact, Inspiring Monologue, and Mark for Death. Our
Mm.
extraction crises are the Montesi formula found, Struggle for the Cube continues, Fear grips world as worthy terrorized cities. Our secures are Gamma Wave sweeps across Midwest, Cosmic Invasion, Black Order descend on Earth, and Riot sparks out over Extremis 3.0. I'm very happy with this list. Just as a little bonus, we eventually will have a YouTube channel up that will be doing our battle reports, and I'll probably also upload our podcasts onto YouTube because some people prefer to listen to them on YouTube, I guess. That doesn't make sense to me, but Power to them. And so you can listen to our podcast there, but we'll also have some video battle reports once we get our camera set up and maybe less people are dying from COVID. And so I'm going to play this list several times in video battle reports, and you guys can see how it does versus Jeremy, who will hate it. My favorite is that he helped build it, so it's his fault.
Yep. Every time something bad happens, you can point and yell at him.
He's like, thanks for helping me with this list, Jeremy. He's like, God damn it.
I did it by watching you.
Yeah. All right. So I think that brings us to time for Comic Corner.
Comic Corner.
I feel like I need like a Blue's Clues / a Mr. Rogers / Bob Ross intro here.
Corner. We'll talk about comics and corners. Okay. Today I want you to know I went thematic with our awesome crossover list. And I want you to know, I even managed to find some of our new cool characters coming up in this comic. If you have not checked out, it happened, I think, in, say, it was 2019. It was a Marvel Comics event, so it was a crossover with multiple teams, multiple titles, but it centers around Thor and the Asgardians. The War of the Realms was a really good title. If you picked up a comic book and it had a War of Realms tie-in, it was really common while it was going on. But the actual War of the Realms title itself, the standalone miniseries, has been turned into a graphic novel by Jason Aaron, Russell Dodderman, and Matthew Wilson. It is the first time that I actually really, really liked reading a Asgardian-themed story. I've read lots of Thor and other Asgardian stuff, and generally speaking, I don't leave it with a great, like, man, I'm really glad I spent my time doing that. I couldn't have found another comic to spend my time on until War of the Realms. I've reread this graphic novel like cover to cover, I think 5 times since I've gotten it this year. It is super strong. It follows Thor's most modern kind of revivification of the character. He's been a broken character in the modern Marvel universe, trying to redeem himself after several, follies and sins that he's had to kind of come to grips with. And so the War of the Realms brings all that to a head when Malekith, the Dark Elf King, decides to make war on the 9 realms, and he leaves Midgard and Earth for last. And so the War of the Realms is that running fight across the Earth when all fantasy from Norse mythology just breaks loose. And Brandon, one of my favorite moments from the War of the Realms is it ties into new models coming out. The Punisher shows up in it because Dark Elves are running around causing chaos in the streets of New York City. And for those of you who don't know a lot about Norse mythology, but all elves in Norse mythology have a tremendous and deadly weakness to iron. and so there's this wonderful scene where this Dark Elf lieutenant is like, why haven't you taken this sector yet? And he's like, well, we keep going down this alley, but there's this man who has so much iron, and it shows you a panel of the Punisher, which is like he's standing in front
of autoing.
He's standing in front of a van, and the van is just nothing but bullets and guns, and he is just both doors in the back are open, and he's just no smiles, just like no emotion. He's just piles and piles of Dark Elf bodies everywhere because he can't run out of bullets.
Time to take out the trash.
Yeah, and so
that's funny.
It is funny, and he kind of runs a subplot throughout the rest of it, where basically he is like humanity's answer to elves, because he just shoots so many bullets, and he ends up becoming kind of a main character and utilized throughout the entire thing.
I'm just picturing the last scene of The Last Samurai where he's just mowing them down. It's like, get your stupid swords out of here.
Yeah. Also, the artist for the War of the Realms, I think he does a great job, because Frank Castle's face, the Punisher's face, is always kind of a screwed lip, like he's a little bit mad about something. Like it's like somebody just stepped on his toe and he's holding it in. He has that face in every freaking panel. Like he never. That's the only face he has, and it's great. It's not darky dark. It's almost like he's just pained. He's literally pained all the time, and it makes perfect sense with him in this comic. So if you like Asgardians, it's great Asgardian lore. If you like the Avengers, they're all over it. And then, of course, a couple awesome side characters. Daredevil shows up and picks up Heimdall's sword and sees everything in the universe because he's the other blind character in the Marvel universe.
Wait, Heimdall's blind?
Yeah, Heimdall is blind, but he can see everything. That's the mythology.
I thought he was like perfect sight, man. I didn't know it was the sword.
Yeah, it's the sword, and I do not know if that's Norse mythology or Marvel mythology, but
interesting.
It's the sword, and it is very, very, very good stuff if you like the mythos and you like Marvel characters interacting with that mythos, because the whole thing spills onto the Earth, and there's some good tongue-in-cheek moments. But also, if you like Thor, it's one of the best Thor character conclusions for some of his main conflicts.
Yeah,
and it's really good. I recommend it to anyone who likes any of the stuff we just did. If you like this list that we just made, you're like, oh, I like all those characters. Read War of the Realms. You will be very satisfied.
All right, so that's going to wrap up our comic corner with Parker, and that's going to lead us into our new segment, which is going to be extremely rare, I expect, but will happen, and it's called Dresden Corner. So, if you aren't aware, there's a book series called The Dresden Files, written by a man named Jim Butcher. He's actually from the Kansas City area, which is where we are, and the first couple books are not overly inspiring, but give him a small break because they're the first novels he ever published. It picks up pretty well around book 3, though. Book 3 is a very strong book, and then it just keeps getting better. And somehow, book 17 released 2 days ago. It's called Battlegrounds. Read it. Well, first read everything else, because there's 17 novels now and 2 short stories anthologies that are also out. The voice acting on Audible is very good. It's done by James Marsters, who played Spike on Buffy. He does a lot of voice acting nowadays.
Impeccable voice acting.
Yeah, he's amazing. There's only one other person that I've ever heard a novel series from that's done anywhere near as well, which was Jim Dale. Jim Dale does a great job as well. But I don't have time to sit down and read because I just don't. So I listen to Audible while I'm working or while I'm driving and all kinds of other stuff. But it's hands down my favorite novel series. Some people say it's a little childish in the early books, but it picks up into the mature crowd pretty much at book 3 on. It's very good. So that's what I'm going to be doing for the next 20 hours is not sleeping. I've been so busy this week, I missed that it dropped Tuesday at midnight. And I've been watching that. I've pre-ordered this book in February. And I didn't even realize it was the 29th. I've been so busy.
That is saying something.
I know. Brian said something to me an hour ago. I didn't even realize. He says, did you start Battleground yet? I'm like, what? That's not out till next week. And I looked at the date and I'm like, oh my God, it's October. My God. Oh my God. Yeah. So I'm going to be...
There must have literally been mountains in your... There must have been mountains in your path.
I know. Right? I was under the mountain. That's what I was doing.
I want you to know, I am also very, very excited for it. I love it. If Parker, you like any sort of mythos. Ooh,
yeah, so I guess we should talk about it. It's an urban fantasy book in which effectively magic and supernatural stuff is real in current day Chicago is where it's placed. He does an amazing job of incorporating all the different versions of something. So let's say, for example, there's a bunch of different kinds of fairies and different lores. Then he finds a way to seamlessly engage all of the different versions, like for werewolves, all the different kinds of werewolves, like the movie monster werewolves, the TV show werewolves where they just turn into wolves. There are sparkly vampires, but he basically makes fun of them. So,
yeah.
Yeah.
My favorite part of I will tell you this. In book 1, I think it may have been it was before halfway through the book. Mm-hmm. he makes a reference to fairies, and he talks about, fairies. Most fairies are just like little pixie creatures and, inconsequential. So you don't want to mess with the big ones, like Santa Claus. You don't want to mess with him. And I remember hearing that line and going, well, I'm going to read this forever and ever and ever. Like this, like if I get to meet Santa Claus at some point, did he just foreshadow Santa Claus at some point, and he's a fairy and he's a badass, then I need to know everything about this universe.
Yeah. Anyway,
it's amazing.
So I think we spoiled Dresden a little bit. Go listen to it. Go read it. Go find it. More than likely, someone listens to this series. Parker, I do have a question for you. Yeah. When I asked you to originally read this book 5 years ago, or the book series 5 years ago, you didn't. And you waited and you waited till about 2 years ago you started actually reading the books. I know that you've read a lot of books. I don't think it necessarily has to be your favorite series, but has it broken your top 5 on favorite series?
If you're going to talk about like epic series that I've followed, spent a lot of time doing, absolutely got to be. Honestly, if you ask me like what is my book series, if you're discounting all the comics,
if you could, for example, have another book in a series out right now that you haven't touched, what book series would you choose?
It would be a graphic novel series.
It has to be a novel. An actual novel.
If it's actual novel, then there is none. Dresden Files is the best novel series. There are graphic novel series that I'll actually, as much as I love Dresden Files, there are graphic novel series that if you told me right now and I could wave a magic wand and I could get more from that writer, I would say that.
There's Dresden Files graphic novels, right?
Yes, I do.
Have you read them?
No.
Failure. All right, moving on. All right, we're done with Dresden for now. We'll talk about it probably at some point. Maybe next episode after we both read the book. All right. So that's probably going to do it for us today. Thank you for stopping by. This has been Brandon.
And Parker.
And thank you for listening to It's Always Sunny in the Multiverse. That was a good sign out. I like that.
That was good.
What did you think? Was this a good episode, Parker?
I like this episode. This is good.
Well, a little longer than I expected, as always. But that's just going to be the thing until we start getting bored with the content, I guess. Yeah. For basically the whole episode, I had your camera covered and didn't even realize it because I was busy typing and doing stuff. I didn't even consider that you had a camera right there that I could be looking at.
No, I wasn't even. Yeah, I was looking at my screens all the time, like my MCP screens.
So I've got Audacity up in the top right on my right monitor, and then I've got OBS as a backup in the bottom right. Then I've got database and list builder on the rest of that screen, and then my left monitor I've got Discord and 4 browser tabs open to different screens that I can get to. And so I've got maximum efficiency. I love having this much space and all these screens, because normally I dual monitor. It's like watching Netflix on the left, playing games on the right. It's pretty basic, but I like having it's like Star Trek when you've got a million things going on. And there's all these monitors and graphs, and it's I got it.
So right. I wanted to show
hold on
you.
A second.
I just wanted to show you this panel. This is the panel that you view. It's just they're desperately trying to get past the Punisher. he's just killing so many of them.
I was actually going to ask you to see these. These look good. I like his face. There's a lot of Frank Castle drawings that are just he's got a dumb face. Oh, did you ever watch Chuck, the TV show?
I've seen episodes.
Okay, the main thing about the show is it's got Adam Baldwin in it, who plays Jane on Firefly. But there's an episode, I don't know the actor's name, but basically the main character's dad shows up. Wait, is it his dad? Am I thinking of the wrong show? No, it's definitely Chuck. But the guy who plays Shazam plays Chuck, but he's skinny and geeky in that. So anyway, the guy's dad shows up. He's basically a con man. He's a grifter, and all he does, he shows up, he causes trouble, he leaves immediately. So anyway, he shows up in this episode, and basically he convinces his son to go into business with him, but Chuck is an undercover secret agent for the CIA, and Adam Baldwin's character is his bodyguard. And he's basically a card-carrying hitman for the CIA, and he just goes around and he kills people. Or no, he works for the FBI. Sorry, the girl works for the CIA, and so he's talking to him, and he thinks that he's just his friend, and he looks him dead in the eyes. The first time he meets him, he's like, "You have a cop face." It's like, and that ball's like, "I'm not a cop." Like, he has no response because he's never been like a true undercover agent. He's just a guy who kills people, basically. Like, he's a Wetworks guy. It's so funny because throughout the episode, like, he ends up going undercover with them to make the con work, and they're like ripping off this billionaire, and he's like, use the thing God gave you, your cop face. And it's like, go in there and pretend to be a cop. He's like, I think I can do that. He's like, you're going to have to be really good, though. Use that cop face. Every time he says cop face, I fucking lose my shit. Because I'm like, yeah, he does have a cop face.
This is a part you're talking about, like how I love how his expression is always exactly the same expression. So he's going to talk to the light elves, and so then it's like, there's that expression.
Yeah.
And this is what it looks like in profile. And this is what it looks like from underneath.
Mm-hmm.
But it's exactly the same expression. I love it.
I will literally destroy you.
Yeah. He goes to the Light Elves because they're one of they were decimated by Malekith's army. And so he goes there. He was sent there to arm them with semi-automatic weapons.
Every time Kincaid shows up in Dresden Files now, I just picture the Punisher. Like, that's all I do.
Yeah.
Like, it's just Punisher. He's going to shoot you in the face. He's not going to ask questions about it, and he's going to move on. Yep. He's gonna get on a plane, he's gonna fly somewhere else, he's gonna shoot you in the face there. That's all he does.
Yeah, I'm talking about this got me so jazzed.
Oh boy. Alright, Parker, I have an idea. You should look up...
Here's a good Punisher line from this. War's war, giants just take more bullets is all.
Yeah.
It's like that. Go ahead. Oh, we're going to do a comics corner. We're going to keep it short tonight, yeah.
Why, we should have plenty of time, though.
I'm not requesting that we do it, but I didn't know if you were going to if you wanted to drop it in there, because I'll look at my shelf real fast.
You should have something ready, I think.
Okay, let me look at it real fast.
Okay.
I got a good one for like stuff we're going to talk about today, and
okay,
and also like things coming out. It's a good one.
So, do you have our docs open?
No, I don't have that. Let me
Okay.
Look.
Well, cool thing for the spreadsheet, and especially for list building, is I've sorted it, or I have it set up to where it's column A is the name of the crisis card, column B is the point total of the crisis card, and column C is the deployment of the crisis card. And so we can sort them according to whatever we want. And so, like, right now I have them descending point value. But if we're like, okay, well, we've discovered that this list likes deployment B, I could do this and just go data sort range, and I could sort by column L descending, and now they're sorted according to deployment. And so that way it'll make it a lot easier for list building in general later on.
Nice.
So that's handy.
That's good. Did you make all this like one at a time?
I made this sheet, but I mean, I used other resources to collect the information. It actually only took about 20 minutes.
Wow, cool.
I have a lot of experience making spreadsheets that are sortable and reference each other because of Dungeons and Dragons. You should see my inventory sheet for our epic level campaign. It's got like 6 different sheets, and there's they reference each other, and it's all auto formatting color coded. And so, like, if I type in like, this is the item name, this is how much it weighs, this is its gold value, and I put in the initials of the player carrying it, it automatically applies that weight to their character. It's pretty awesome. Yeah, that took weeks of effort over time. And then everybody else is like, I literally don't know how much money my character has. I'm like, I can tell you how much weight is in our wagon.
Okay, I got my comic book ready. I got some stuff ready here. Looking good.
Cool. Well, don't spoil it for me, but if you think it's good, that's good. Okay.
No, I'm not gonna say the end. I'm just gonna say the part that makes sense.
Sure. Oh no, I don't mean that. I mean, don't tell me what the comic's about because I want to be surprised for Comic Corner as well.
Got it.
I really couldn't care about the storyline. I actually just am curious what comic book you have.
Okay.
All right. Man, it's been a long day.
No doubt, but I'm woken up. I was yawning. I was falling, but I'm
That's
back.
good because I'm probably not going to sleep tonight. I'll tell you why later.
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
That's some tasty water. Okay. Are you good to go?
Mm-hmm.
All right, let me punch in some keys here. Stupid formatting. Well, I hate it when it's like you'll hit enter a few times and then it like remembers that there was an underline above it. I'm like, I don't want to underline this. All right, here we go. For the people at home, I'm sorry for all the clicking. I have a mechanical keyboard, and I'm not going to climb behind my computer desk to unplug it every time we podcast. I do my best to edit it out in Audacity, but it's some of the clicks make it through.
Got to get them clicks.
Yep.
I had no idea that Dresden already came out. It was everything I could do to not scream on the podcast.
I know, right? That's why I saved it in, because I was worried if I told you, you wouldn't do the podcast.
Ugh. Ugh. That just, it blows my mind. It blows my mind that we didn't. Ugh.
Yeah, well, so we'll just do Comic Corner for now. All right, so we're at 156. Okay. Yes, I'm happy we actually have music now. Oh, I should have said something about that at the beginning. I'll just do it later, I guess. I'll record a little segment for Colin. What are you looking at? You look very intent.
I was trying to decide. I should go to bed.
If you're going to start listening now?
Yeah. What do you mean? I like going down a rabbit hole here.
I'm pretty sure if I start playing the book, I will not sleep. So I'm worried. And I have no time for the next, 2 days either.
Yeah, I feel likewise. I do not know. I guess I'm gonna listen to it on the way to school and stuff like that. But that's about what I got.
Yeah.
On the way to and from Cece's preschool, or Regina's preschool rather. But that's what I got. But I'm going to, because goddamn.
I'm gonna post in the text channel our list and see what it comes out as. Wow, that is kind of a wall of text there. I guess it's fairly efficient, but I like our server. Yeah. Our server worked out well.
This today?
Pretty handy. Yeah, because Jeremy wasn't here to have his internet die repeatedly. That was so weird. I've never had that happen.
I'm actually a little glad that we didn't do that I didn't record yours, because you totally cut out twice.
Really?
And it was just internet, though. It was just internet. Like, I could tell you were talking. And
yeah, this is definitely going to be the superior way to do it. The only thing I was worried about for doing it this way is I was using the the Discord click remover for my mechanical keyboard and mouse. But because they're on separate channels, I'll be able to isolate my clicks and just remove them, and that will be fine.
I haven't stopped recording. Should I stop recording?
No, not yet, because when you stop recording, I have to stop recording. And I like to add this at the end as a little, goodbye.
Okay.
And then I'll edit out all the dumb stuff.
Okay. I really... I'm glad that I had a comic book, actually, that kind of met the theme. That's what I'm going to try to do. When we're talking about something, I'll try to match it with...
I think the Comic Corner went a little longer than we were planning, but you seemed pretty into it, so...
Well, I wanted to...
Yeah, give him a good overview.
Yeah, and I wanted... And without spoiling, I think I did a good job. I actually have a lot of experience with book talks, in school.
Yeah.
book talks where you get kids excited about something, but you don't tell them exactly what's going on because
No, yeah,
that ruins
you
it.
did a good job with what you said. I was expecting it to be a little bit shorter, and maybe that was a mistake on my part. But it's not a big problem. Like it's not like we ran way too long or anything.
Yeah. Also, I wanted to give it something that the Brandon would like, and I knew Brandon would like.
The Punisher.
Punisher throws all the bullets at Dark Elves. I knew you would dig that.
All right, let's see. We need to come up with some more podcast names eventually, but I think we're good for. I'm gonna go with 20 episodes. Don't need that. Okay. I would like to start. Holy shit! They've added 10 characters to the database. What the fuck? I have 41 characters listed. The database is up to 51 already.
51 what?
Characters. There's been 10 characters added since I made our document. What the fuck?
For MCP?
Yeah.
Yeah, because... Are you talking about MCP database? Yeah, they were way behind. They didn't have Wasp, most of the defenders. Yeah, they didn't... but
now they had, everything.
Yeah, they updated it.
Yeah, I'm just surprised there was 10. 10 seems like a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Although, with the sorting feature, I can just drop them in and then sort by column A. So that's fine.
Yeah. So is the next thing on the docket faction review or individual model review?
Yeah, so we built the list. Let's go back to the topics page. Speculation, character roles. We can start doing character roles, but I think that'll be part of rating.
Oh, that's right. We debated that. We debated that with Jeremy last time of how we wanted to.
So I still think we should do the 4 subcategories with one overall rating, and the rating can either be a letter grade. It sounds bad, but it just really
sounds cumbersome.
I don't think it will be, because we're going to talk about all these things about each character anyway. Adding a number to the end of it isn't going to take that much longer. And I think that'll be good, because if people at home want to follow along and keep track, or we can just publish the database I've made, and then you'd be like, hey, well, I want to see what are the best defensive characters ignoring faction, or what are the best defensive characters in this faction, and so you can sort it by all of those things.
How many tiers are we doing of rating?
So I was just thinking 1 to 10 being the most obvious. I think the overall grade, doing a letter grade, wouldn't be bad. I know Chain Attack did the letter grade while doing individual numbered stats, but we don't have to. I think 1 to 10 is probably the best option, but it's kind of hard to do a 1 to 10 on an overall grade.
I like the overall grade being like
a letter grade.
Yeah, S, A, B, C, D, F.
Yeah, I'm not against it. I'm just worried that because of that, we'll tend to lean towards particular letters and we won't use them very often. Would you say there's an S character right now?
Doctor Strange.
You think he's an S? I'm hesitant to say that because I haven't played it yet.
Yeah.
He looks really strong, but that doesn't always translate correctly.
Well, then I think one of the ways that, in my personal opinion, if we're making four different tiers and we're rating them out of 10, if we get a character that's rating plus 8+ in every category, then yeah, he's S.
Right, but the sum of the parts doesn't necessarily have a direct correlation to the rating. An over-designed piece of shit. Well, maybe, because what if they're 8 points? That goes into a lot of it. And we can go through and look at our past ratings and say hey, this guy had 4s across the board and we gave him a D, and then this guy had 4s across the board, we gave him a B.
That I like this idea. We're also going to say what kind of character they are, right?
Yeah, we're going to put them in a group, and I haven't come up with the groupings yet.
I think the grade we give them is tied to that group,
how good they are at being a bruiser or a tank or something. Okay.
Right. So it's for example, Rocket, I think, is an S tier ranged damage dealer, right? Mm-hmm. So he's S tier, and really it comes down to partially efficiency, points for how much he does. It's because you have to pay so little for what he does. And I think it's totally fine that part of the grade we give them is based upon the whole character, based on you thinking about the role and the points they cost.
All right, so I've played City Heroes. So Blaster is the first. Tank. Controller. Do you think we need a scrapper category?
Yeah, probably.
So is scrapper melee damage dealer or like just a fighty character?
I think melee damage dealer
Because I
specifically,
think
like
bruiser.
Drax is a scrapper. I don't know if he's a bruiser.
I love that I'm going to just try and shoehorn as many City Heroes classes in here as possible.
Now, I have a question, and we can go ahead. I think it should be scrapper or bruiser. I think it should be either or. There shouldn't be both.
That's why I was asking. So I'm intentionally doing all of the melee type sounding.
I think because, for example, I think Daredevil is probably could be
scrapper.
Like he would be a scrapper, right?
But he wouldn't be a bruiser.
You could easily call him a bruiser, right? Like there's not like we could define what that means.
Yeah. Okay, so I've got obviously tank, because I think tank is a separate category. Because I think Thanos is a tank. I think Cap's a tank. I think Black Dwarf.
Purely defensive characters.
Yeah, they're effectively just defensive characters. They're there to take hits for other people. Like Okoye would be a tank. Like all she does is protect people.
Yes.
So then our options for melee fighter type characters are Brute, Bruiser, Scrapper, Fighter. Do you have any other suggestions?
For names?
Yeah. So I think Scrapper's fine. I think Scrapper insinuates that they're specialized at fighting. They might have some defenses, but generally speaking, their focus is on getting to melee and dealing damage. And everything else they have is secondary.
I like Scrapper.
I like Scrapper as well. And I think Brute is a good like in-between character. That's like that they can do both, but they're really a hybrid. And so Brute would be like Black Dwarf. Like he can hit really hard. He can tank. He's not specifically focused at either one. He's an in-between. Like I like that.
Thor would be a bruiser.
Brute, you mean? Yes.
Brute. I like the bruiser instead of Brute.
Yeah, but it's going to be Brute, though. How dare you? All right, so other type characters. So we got Blaster, Tank, Controller, Brute, Scrapper.
What would like Spider Friends belong in? Are they all Scrappers? Or are they?
So we need a term for a controller that is more fighty than just a pure controller.
I don't know if we need to, but at some point we're going to split too many hairs, and it's impossible to follow.
You're impossible to follow. We've only got 5 names so far.
Because remember, people are just listening to this, right?
Yeah.
Once you get too many things just to listen to, it's really tough to follow all the delineations just listening to it abstractly. So we need something a term for a totally ranged character.
Blaster. That's already there. That's one of the 5. Blaster, Tank, Controller, Brute, Scrapper. So there's 3 like melee type characters, but they don't technically have to be melee. Like you could have a Brute that's ranged. It's just so far there's not.
I don't know. Punisher could be considered. No, I guess he's really a blaster.
Yeah, really. Ooh, Skirmisher. Because that could work for anyone that's really an objective focused character.
Yeah, I like that because that's Blackwood. That's the Widows and all the Web Warriors except for Venom.
Yeah, because I think Skirmisher is pretty much all the spider people, except for Venom, who is a Brute. Yeah, generally a Brute is anyone who's like hit points, damage. Those are my 2 important stats.
Right.
Can we have a garbage class? Like this character is garbage.
I don't think there's a garbage class.
I don't think so either. As tactician would be one, but I don't think we have anyone that's like a tactician.
Nah, Red Skull's probably the closest thing, but he's controller,
Because
really.
I would say Zemo would be either scrapper or a skirmisher.
I think he's a scrapper
Yeah,
because
I
he
think
actually
so
wants to be
too.
stuck in.
He's just so fast.
Well, scrappers can be fast. Black
Yeah.
Panther's
No, yeah, I
definitely a
think you're
scrapper.
right. Hmm. I think we should honestly just get rid of Tank because there's only
Sure.
going to be like two, and
Yeah,
you
sure.
could call Cap and Thanos brutes, and that's fine.
Yeah.
I think it's a wasted title, even though
Yep.
like in concept it's a good idea, and we might get to the point where it becomes valid to have it if we start getting more tank type characters.
Yeah. Honestly, I would put Cap actually maybe in like a funny specialized scrapper, but
Yeah, but I think brutes will tend to have a lot more like throw type effects, as where scrappers will have more like damage increasing effects.
yeah, but Cap doesn't have a throw type effect.
Yeah, he does. Shield slam.
Oh yeah, I
His
guess.
only paid ability or paid attack.
Okay.
But this
I
is
thought you meant like a throw a terrain at somebody effect.
oh, I see what you mean. I mean, yeah, they can. I just want to
I like
use
that list.
I just want to use all the city heroes class names.
I know you do.
Yeah. There's no skirmisher though. Let's see. Ooh, we could do mastermind.
Mastermind's not a horrible one for characters like Loki, but honestly, I think he's controller. Like he's just
Controller just sounds more obvious, I think. I was thinking
right.
Dominator instead of controller, but
Mm, nah. I like controller because controller could be positive for you, negative for your opponent.
yeah.
Like you're trying to use your character to control the pace of the game, rather than the hit points and going up and down.
Hmm.
I like that.
I can't think of anything other than skirmisher. I don't like the name, but I think it's perfect for the example that we've been given.
Right. And in this game, because it's an objective based game, and they clearly made objective taking characters, you've got to have something like that.
Hmm. Is there a term for like maybe a scout might work? But that's more of like a Black Widow role, where I feel like skirmisher covers her and like the spider guys.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think skirmisher is just too perfect. All right, so we've got blaster, controller, brute, scrapper, skirmisher. We could try and fit in defender. So like a defender would be like a Koei, and we could also put in Cap, and then just leave Thanos as a brute.
Mm,
I like the term defender, but it could also mean a lot of stuff. Like you could also do
Groot would be a defender,
yeah, because he's not really a
and
brute; he's more of a tank. I think
and Venom.
defender. I think defender is probably. I'm gonna put it in, and then we'll just talk about it later.
I was gonna say Groot is Venom can be under with the card anyway. He's often used.
Well, yeah, but that's a single use. He's not really. He's
I know.
definitely a brute.
I'm just saying that's one of the reasons why he's a tier or maybe even S tier because he's got the ability to switch over into defender at will once per game.
Is 6 categories too many?
Yeah, probably.
You think so?
Yeah. At some point, they'll be unusable for us too.
I don't know that you could fit all was it 51 characters into 5 categories. I guess you could put Groot in brute because he does punch fairly hard,
Mm-hmm.
but he's so defensive that I feel like tank or defender is a lot more true to the term. But then we have offensive melee, defensive melee, and in between melee. I'm gonna leave it for now. We can hammer it out later.
Yeah, I'm sorry, dude. I'm actually fading out.
No, that's fine. I mean, we're pretty much done. I mean, we are done. But
Okay. What do you need me to do with this file?
all right, so we're gonna stop recording now.